After Narad's remarks, then Ashwapati answered to the seer, "Is then the spirit ruled by an outward world? Because from all that the sage has said, it looks as if grief, pain, ignorance, these are the deciding factors, and spirit is anything but any of these things." So he says, "O seer, is there no remedy within? Are only outer factors going to decide things? Is there nothing to meet the situation from inside? But what is fate if not the spirit's will after a long time fulfilled by cosmic force?" He raises a question. All right, there is fate. But fate ultimately, is it not the will of the spirit? At the individual level, the will of the soul; at the collective level, the will of the creative spirit, after a long time fulfilled by the cosmic force. It takes time, and we think it is fate when it eventuates. Then striking a personal note about his daughter, the king says, "I deemed a mighty power had come with her. She is not an ordinary being to be governed by fate, by outer circumstances. I thought a great power had come with her, the power of God. Is not that power the high compeer of fate, one who coordinates, one who regulates the working of fate?" But Narad answered, covering truth with truth. Narad answers, but the outer meaning is not everything. He speaks in images, the superficial meaning concealing the deeper meaning. Both are truths, the outer truth and the inner basic truth. He says, "O Ashwapati, random see the ways along whose banks your footsteps stray or run in casual hours and moments of the gods." He says, when you human beings walk on the banks of time, you walk casually. It looks as if it is a random walk. There is no planning, there is no foresight, but it just you go where you like. So random seem the ways along whose banks your footsteps stray or run in casual hours and moments of the gods. If gods have any influence, it looks as if they too are very casual. Whether you go this way or that way does not matter much to them. Yet it may appear like that. Things may appear to be insignificant. Things may appear to be trifling. But he says, yet your least stumbling are foreseen above. Even when you stumble against a stone, you just trip, however lightly, they are foreseen above. So, your movements are not casual, your movements are not random, but there is a whole sequence of meaning behind them. Infallibly, that means without mistake, The curves of life are drawn, following the stream of time through the unknown. Life flows along the banks of time, and the whole thing is an unknown area. But the curves of life that flows are drawn somewhere else, and they are drawn without error. They are led by a clue. The calm immortals speak. The calm immortals are the overseeing gods. They have the clue to the curves of life that have been already designed for use. This blazoned hieroglyph of prophet moon, hieroglyph is a script of the old, like Egyptian, Mediterranean tongues, which we can't make meaning today. So unintelligible drawings which form the language at one time, but which we can't understand. So by extension, any illegible handwriting is known as hieroglyph. But the original meaning was script that cannot be read easily and understood. So he says, this blazoned hieroglyph of prophet moons is the astronomical movements of the moons, mean the stars. They indicate something. The movement of the planets indicate the movement of your fate. Now this has a meaning more sublime in symbols, right? Symbolically, the meaning that the astronomical signs yield is more sublime than the external meaning. A meaning more sublime in symbols, writes than sealed thought wakes to your thought, wakes to a certain symbolism. But the significance, the meaning of this record of the foreseeing planets is more sublime than your thought can decipher. But of this high script, how shall my voice convince the mind of earth? He says, mind of earth, mind of your humanity. How can whatever I say, my voice convince? What's the purport? What's the meaning of that high language? And here he says, heaven's wiser love rejects the mortal prayer. The mortal human being has a right to pray, has a right to express what it wants. But heaven, meaning the divine, if it rejects it, it is because out of its love for man, out of its love for the one who prays, which love is wiser than the intelligence of the person who asks, it rejects. So, 90% of the prayers that persons in ignorance send forth to God are desire motivated. A fulfillment of those desires may be very pleasant to the outer being, but it may retard the progress of the soul by holding it back for a while So heaven's love, which is wiser than the human being, rejects. So if our prayers are not answered, we shall not feel that God has been unkind, that God has not listened to our prayers, but we should know that there is a purpose. That purpose is because God loves us. And that love is wiser than our ignorant mind. This is a famous sentence which holds a whole philosophy of prayer, the relations between man and God. Heaven's wiser love rejects the mortal's prayer. Unblinded, he explains now, unblinded by the breath of his desire, unclouded by the mists of fear and hope, it bends above the strife of love with death. That love, love of the divine, is not blinded by the breath of man's desire. Its vision is not clouded by the mist created by his fear and hopes. It stands above the clash of love and death on earth. It keeps for her privilege of pain. It keeps for love the privilege of pain. Because for love, pain doesn't register as pain. Pain is a price that love gladly pays to fulfill its objective. And then coming to his daughter, he says, a greatness in thy daughter's soul resides. There is a might, there is a greatness which is there in the soul of thy daughter, and that greatness that can transform herself and all around, but must cross on stones of suffering to its goal. The greatness that is embodied in the being of Savitri has to tread the path of sharp stones of suffering before it can reach its goal. Although designed like a nectar cup of heaven, her person, though she is designed like a nectar cup of heaven, of heavenly ether made, though she is made of heavenly ether, she sought this air. She has come down of her own choice to breathe this air of earth. And that's why she too must share the human need of grief, and all her cause of joy transmute to pain. Everything that would normally yield to joy, she has to render, experience, pay the price of pain. The mind of mortal man is led by words. The mind is deceived by speech, by external words. His sight retires behind the walls of thought. When he begins to think, his vision goes back. He goes on cogitating, thinking. He doesn't see what is what, and looks out only through half-open doors. If his mind, if his sight looks out, it is only through half-open doors, has got a clipped vision, and it does not get the full sight. He cuts the boundless truth into sky strips small strips, paper when you cut out in small strips for pasting and all that. He says, he cuts the boundless truth into sky strips, thin lines, and every strip he takes for all the heavens. He imagines, he believes that every little strip of sky that he cuts out with his mind is the whole heavens. He stares at infinite possibility and gives to the plastic vast the name of chance. Really there is no chance. But what he cannot understand, when he cannot grasp the plastic nature of the vast consciousness, the infinite possibility that spreads out before him, he uses the name of word of chance. He sees the long results of an all-wise force planning a sequence of steps in endless time. He does not see the working of the all-wise force, but he sees only the long-term results. He does not see what has gone, what has led up to it. He sees only the results. But in its links imagines a senseless change. He thinks in the links of each happening, he imagines there is a chain of necessity. There is no choice there, there is no intelligence there, but it is a mechanical chain of necessity. Or the dead hand of cold necessity. Chain, you can distinguish between the two. A senseless chain means where the intelligence does not participate, a sequence of events happening mechanically, one leading to another. Or the dead hand of cold necessity. There is no living choice, but a dead hand of cold necessity. He answers not to the mystic mother's heart. He is not aware of the existence of the mystic mother, the divine mother who is bending over him, misses the ardent heavings of her breast and feels cold, rigid limbs of lifeless law. He misses the warm heartbeats of the mother, and everywhere he feels cold, rigid limbs of lifeless law. He imagines there is chance, there is necessity, and there is law. The will of the timeless working out in time in the free absolute steps of cosmic truth. Actually, what is happening is the will of the eternal translating itself in terms of time in absolute freedom, a large freedom of the manifestation of the cosmic truth appears to the limited intelligence of man a hard machine or meaningless state. A magician's formulas have made matters lost. He comes to this conclusion. There is a sorcerer, there is a magician whose formulas have made, magician formulae have made all these laws of matter, and while they last, while these laws of the magician continue, all things by them are bound. But the Spirit's consent is needed for each act. He forgets in his short vision that the consent of the Spirit, the consent of the self, of the soul is required for each act, and freedom walks in the same pace with law. If there is law, there is also the freedom, and both go step by step in step. All here can change if the magician chose. The magician is God. If he chose, all can change. But he lets his creatures learn by experience. If human will could be made one with God's, if human thought could echo the thoughts of God, man might be all-knowing and omnipotent. If the human thought can be disciplined and put in tune with the thoughts of God, man can be all-knowing. Similarly, if the human will could be put in tune with the will of God, man can very well become omnipotent, because it will not be the human mind or the human will that will function, but the divine. But now he walks in nature's doubtful ray. The light shed by ambiguous ray of nature, in that man chooses to walk, not in tune with the divine sight or will. Yet can the mind of man receive God's sight? The force of man can be driven by God's force. Then is he a miracle doing miracles. For all the appearance, if man can only take pains to tune himself to God, his mind can receive the light of God. His force can be an instrument of the higher force of God, and then whatever he does becomes a miracle, because the motive power is the divine. For only so can he be nature's king. He can be a king of nature only by rising above nature and participating in divine nature. It is decreed, coming back to the problem, he says, it is decreed and Satyavan must die. The hour is fixed, chosen, the fatal stroke. To that last thing it has been determined. What else shall be is written in our soul. That is, it is left open. What is going to happen after he dies, that has not been laid down. That is written in her soul, not in the cosmic mind. But till the hour reveals the fateful script of what is written in her soul, the writing waits, illegible and mute. That hour has to come. Only then will the writing be legible, will the writing be read. Till then it will be mute, dumb. And then he says, after all, fate is truth working out in ignorance. Behind the working of fate is the working of truth. And truth is working under certain limitations, conditions of ignorance. That is why the path is not always straight. You cannot always say this is going to happen, because it has to work out through all the conditions laid upon it by ignorance. O King, thy fate is a transaction done at every hour between nature and thy soul, with God for its foreseen arbiter. Coming to yourself, O King, thy fate is a transaction, business, done between every hour. It is effected between nature and thy soul. And the judge, the arbiter, is God. And he knows what is going to happen. Fate is a balance drawn in destiny's book. Destiny's account book. Credit on one side, debit on another. Balance. That balance is fate. Man can accept his fate. He can refuse. This is another deep idea in Sri Aurobindo's philosophy, that you are not obliged to accept your fate, not obliged to accept what is written in your stars. Surely you can accept, but you can also refuse. And to refuse your fate, refuse to accept your fate, means so many things. You have to tune your thought to the God's thought, attune your will to the Divine's will, open to the Divine's light, put your force as an instrument of God's force. In other words, you have to exceed nature, rise above the level on which your karma is forced, rise above it and go beyond the operation of those karmic forces that thou hast generated. So it is in your hands. Man can accept his fate, he can refuse. Then what is the function of God? It says, even if the one maintains the unseen decree, he writes thy refusal and thy credit paid. Maybe he is keeping an account, but every time you refuse that, he puts it on the credit side. Plus, that this fellow has some will. He does not want, he wants to fight. So he puts his supportive will, he puts it in the positive side. For doom is not a close, defeat, death, doom is not the end. A mystic seal. It is not a seal of God on your life. A reason from the tragic crash of life, because it is not a close. The doom, the death doesn't signify a terminus, doesn't signify a close, because he says, how? A reason from the tragic crash of life, a reason from the body's torture and death. The spirit rises mightier by defeat. To the outer eye, it may look as if one is defeated, but as a result of this crash, tragedy, torture, death, the inner spirit rises higher, mightier by defeat. It is not vanquished. The outer personality may appear to be vanquished, but the spirit, the soul, becomes mightier by defeat. Its godlike wings grow wider with each fall. Each fall gives a strength to the wing. They add up to victory. O man, the events that meet thee on thy road, though they smite thy body and soul with joy and grief, are not thy fate. These daily circumstances, these daily shocks, they are not thy ultimate fate. They touch thee a while and pass. Even death can cut short. Even death can cut not short thy spirit's walk. Death may cut the career of thy body, but not the walk of thy spirit, of thy soul. Thy goal, the road thou choosest, are thy fate. What happens immediately? The interruptions of death, they are not thy fate. The goal that thou choosest, the road that thou preferest, they are thy fate. I think we should stop there.